Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to have a look at a Druddigon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We need ourselves a little bit of a chat about Druddigon. A new one is going to be coming out in Sky Legend, and we need a new one. Now, Druddigon's had quite a few different cards. One of the weirdest things about Druddigon is that it's only ever had one card that got two different prints. Usually there's loads of cards, but no. Druddigon had the one from Noble Victories, which was reprinted in Legendary Treasures. No other Druddigon has ever had more than one different artwork. There you go. There's your Druddigon fact of the day. But we should probably have a look at what the new Druddigon actually does. Well, the good news is, it's a dragon type, which is kind of nice, except generally speaking, the Druddigon that are colorless don't have a weakness, but the Druddigon that are dragon type have a fairy weakness, so that's actually really bad. And the retreat cost of 2 is really bad. And the HP of 120 is kind of bad because you've got all that stuff like Buzzwole that hits for 120, so we really want 130. Not to mention that we've just lost Devoured Field to the rotation, or we will have by the time this comes out, which really is the number one reason to play Dragon Pokemon at the moment. Now, to be fair, you can use Lance to get it straight out of the deck, but it's a basic, who cares? You can use Zinnia to accelerate energy from your hand if you had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn. Maybe that is going to be okay, but yeah, I would much rather be a colorless Pokemon with no weakness than a Dragon Pokemon right now. Because whether you're Dragon or colorless, you ain't hitting anything for weakness. Never mind. What does it actually do? Well, our translation here is again a mixture of the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net and the lovely David Hockman from limitlesstcg.com/translations. But again, I ask the question, what does it actually do? Well, the first attack for 2 colorless energy does no damage, but you do get to switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, and then you do 30 damage to the new active. It's Dragoff, ladies and gentlemen. Dragoff is back. The problem is, what isn't back is double colorless energy. Now, as with all of the cards that are being rotated the day before this set becomes legal, seriously, the rotation comes into effect on August the 15th, this set is legal on August the 16th. What is kind of unsure, Unified Minds. Maybe we'll get a reprint of double colorless energy, but I'm going to go on the assumption for the moment that we're not. Okay. So the energy here is a little bit of a pain. We'll get there in a moment. We've got options. But this is really nice. Because, alright, we might be losing double colorless energy to the rotation. But you know what else we're losing? A whole bunch of switching cards. Escape Rope is going away. And Guzma is going away. 2 of the best switching cards we had. Not to mention we're losing Ace Roller, which wasn't really a switching card, but very much worked as a switching card. And all of a sudden, our options for switching have been greatly diminished. For the last couple of years, I've been saying over and over again in my videos, well, the problem at the moment is that we've got Ace Roller and Guzma, and every deck's playing a lot of Guzma, and most decks are playing a couple of Ace Roller, and that means people have got way more options to switch, so something like this isn't going to work. Well, great news, ladies and gentlemen. Great news. We don't have those cards anymore. So now it is a legitimate thing that something like Dragoff might actually stick. So what you want to do is find your opponent with a bench-sitting Pokemon. For instance, one of the decks we expect to remain good after rotation is Naganadel with Blacephalon. Now, okay, Blacephalon only has a retreat cost of 1. But then again, those decks don't tend to play stuff like a skateboard. So they're going to have to manually retreat. I'm sure they've got B-String, that is something that they have to play with, but the fact of the matter is, if they keep attaching energy to Naganadel to retreat, they're going to end up in a situation where they might not have enough energy on Blacephalon to attack. Now, each Naganadel can accelerate energy to itself. That's kind of the whole point of the deck. But then they have to kind of attach it one turn so that the next turn they can retreat and reattach it. That gets kind of awkward. But if you're not buying that example, how about Malamar? Still legal after rotation, still expected to be good. Also a Pokemon that accelerates energy, could be to itself or to something else. But now we got a retreat cost of 2. And remember, double colorless energy has gone away. I ain't saying these are going to be the only bench sitters we've got, but I am absolutely saying that they are bench sitters we're going to have. We're going to find a whole bunch of decks playing stuff like Macargo. Oh look, Macargo's got a retreat cost of 3. At that stage, you basically need to have something like a Guzma, or else you are going to really struggle to get it out the active. So maybe your opponent's playing a switch. They better hope they're playing a switch, because this could actually be incredibly disruptive. If I look at this card 6 months ago with Dragoff, my suggestion is, I mean, everyone's playing Guzma, most people are playing Ace Roller, Escape Rope sees a bunch of play, it's not ideal. But when I've been doing my dive into the rotation lately, what I've been talking about a lot is our switching options are basically Switch and Switch Raft. Except Switch Raft is only for water Pokemon, so please don't think that is an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination. This could stick, and when it sticks, this is going to be great. The damage isn't great, I'm going to be honest with you. It's 30 damage. You'll get the odd little evolving Pokemon. I mean, Magikarp always has 30 HP. But really, outside of that, you're not doing too much damage. This isn't really an attack that's about doing damage. This is an attack that's about annoying your opponent, running them out of resources, giving them a couple of turns where they can't attack, and having a bit of damage as a cheeky, extra fun little bonus. Now, I did promise we'd have a quick chat about the attack cost. I've already mentioned Zinnia. I've already mentioned Malamar, not in the context of this, but Malamar would work. We could also take a little bit of a look towards Welder here, because, you know, Welder attaches to fire energy from your hand and then draws 3 cards, so that's going to work. It kind of needs to be in a deck with some kind of energy acceleration. You could even go a lightning deck using Tapu Koko here if you really wanted to. Get 1 on with Tapu Koko Prism Star attached from the hand, you're golden. But there is a second attack, and we need to have a chat about that as well. The second attack has an awkward attack cost, of course it does, it's a dragon Pokemon. Water, fire, colorless, 100 damage. No, actually, sorry, it's better than that, or worse than that. You see, it's a flippy attack. 100 damage for each heads you can flip from 2 coins. Yeah. This is one of those attacks that I just don't see a huge amount of value in. Now, one of the things is we are losing Victini, so you're not going to be able to reflip, so you just get 1 shot at this. And then, I mean, what, are we using Welder and then attaching a water energy from our hand? Are we using a combination of Naganadel and Quagsire and then attaching a fire energy from our hand? I mean, look, either of those would work. It's just, neither of those are good solutions. And even then, you got a 50% chance of hitting 100, 25% chance of hitting 200, and 25% chance of hitting nothing. If you hit 100, it's really not that great. You're not even getting stuff like Zapdos. You're talking kind of evolving Pokemon and that's it. If you hit 200, then you're up to stuff like the Dedenne GX, that's going down, and we're getting the aforementioned Blacephalons, a whole bunch of GXs you're getting, but even then, you're not getting up to Tag Team GX territory. Pikachu and Zekrom at 240 is one of the weakest Tag Team GXs we've got, and 200 is quite a way away from that. Maybe if Choice Band and Devoured Field hadn't both rotated, and we could hit 240 with double heads, it would be worth a punt, but they both did. And I'm seeing this more and more as we start talking about the rotation, and looking at cards in the context of the rotation. This needs double colorless energy, Devoured Field, and Victini to really start taking advantage of both its attacks, and it doesn't have them. Even the first attack, if you could whack a Choice Band Devoured Field down and be doing 70 to a GX that you brought active, I could be in favour of that. but you can't. And that's a huge problem. It's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. It is not ideal. So I do like this for the first attack because we've lost all of our good switching options, but I don't think the second attack is viable, so let's call it a flat free Wassy card. It's a kind of card where you want a couple copies in your binder, because you never know when you might want to chuck this into a deck. You're probably going to need some energy acceleration, but the fact of the matter is, this is the kind of card where you find it being used, and you buy yourself a couple of turns where your opponent can't attack, and maybe they deck out. Because seriously, if you can play this when they've got no switching options left, they might actually deck out and you win the game. Or it might buy you a couple of turns to set up. Either way, it ain't going to be a new staple, but it certainly is not a bad card at all. So there we go. But I would very much like to know what you think about the card. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. And do please make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about other games. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.